We begin with Congressman Mike Waltz of Florida, who is the incoming White House National Security Advisor. Good morning to you.
Hey, morning, Margaret. Tough day for our Army, but great day for America.
Indeed. As a Green Beret, I know you had a reason to be cheering there for Army, sir. I want to ask you a number of topics, but before I go overseas, you sit on the House Intelligence Committee. You also, because of your new role, are in contact with President Biden's National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan. Do you think the public should be concerned about these reported drones all over the East Coast? And have you the need for more authority to deal with them?
Well, I think what the drone issue points out are kind of gaps in our agencies, gaps in our authorities between the Department of Homeland Security, local law enforcement, the Defense Department. I think Americans are finding it hard to believe. We can't figure out where these are coming from. And I can tell you from the Defense Department standpoint, they're focused on bombers and cruise missiles. And it's pointing to gaps in our capabilities and our ability to clamp down on what's going on here. And we need to get to the bottom of it. And I think the Biden administration is working to do that.
But at this point, given the intelligence you've seen, is there any reason for the public to be worried?
Well, look, when you have sensitive sites like Picatinny Arsenal, you have, of course, President Trump's residence at Bedminster, and you have other no-fly areas. Those need to be enforced. We need to know who's behind it. But right now, I think law enforcement seems to be the Department of Homeland Security and the Defense Department are kind of all doing this and pointing at each other. So when we come in, how do we enforce these low-level, long loitering, could be dangerous drones? And one thing for people to appreciate, they're evolving so rapidly. It's not necessarily somebody that's just on the other end flying it. They could be following pre-positioned GPS coordinates. They could be coming from offshore. And we need to take a hard look at our homeland defenses. President Trump has talked about an Iron Dome for America. That needs to include drones as well, not just adversarial actions like hypersonic missiles. We need to have an all-of-the-above protection of U.S. airspace.
And we're joined now by Minnesota Democratic Senator Amy Klobuchar. Good to have you here.
Great to be back on, Margaret. Thanks.
Well, Senator, I do want to ask you about these drones on the East Coast because we looked at your record and you actually co-sponsored legislation a few years ago trying to expand authorities to deal with them. Why do you need an act of Congress to deal with this, and why didn't the Democrats move on it?
Well, first of all, the administration has repeatedly assured people that they are safe. However, one, we need a briefing for the members of the Senate to figure out what's going on here. Two, we need more transparency. And three, I appreciated some of the congressman's words because what he was talking about is we need to have a new regulatory rules in place here. Right now, you have to register a drone if it's over a half pound, and there are penalties if you don't do that. Well, I think we have to make sure that regime is enforced with local and state authorities. And then we've got to figure out, do we really want all these drones? Because while these may be safe, who knows what happens in the future? And they have to be within 400 feet. So these things are going to be, flying over people's family picnics and over their homes and over beaches. Like, this is not going to be a good future if we see too many of these. So I think I was pleased that he said he wanted to move forward on some rules and finding a way to regulate these in a better way, because this just can't be, no one knows why this huge drone is right over their house.
So you might bring this up in the new Republican-controlled Senate?
Yes.